to Engage Citizens. Hey, I'm your host, Sharrie Ryan, and today I am joined with Melissa Busch, and she is running for State Senate for District 16. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here and just getting to know you a little bit. And we'll just get right into it. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about you, what you do, your family, how long you've lived here, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Melissa Busch, and I'm running for state senate for District 16. And I live in Warren, between Scappoose and St. Helens. I've been in my current residence for about 5 years. Prior to that, my family and I lived just down the road in Linton, which was in the same district until just recently with redistricting. So up until just this year, Linton was part of Senate District 16 for the last, well, more than 10 years. But anyhow, I am a nurse by profession, a home health nurse, which means I travel around the community and visit people that have a hard time accessing healthcare outside of their homes. I visit them in their homes and long-term care settings, which is why I'm joining you all from my car today. So thank
Thank you.
you for the grace in terms of accepting me being here on the road.
Of course. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
yeah.
service as a nurse.
Of course, yeah. So I primarily work in and around Columbia County, mostly in South County. So I visit folks in Scappoose and St. Helens, Columbia City, and then some of the outlying areas as well. Some of the more rural areas bordering the towns that I just spoke of, as well as some rural areas in Multnomah County and Washington County. So like Sauvie Island, for example, I see some folks out there, or like towards North Plains, some areas like that. So,
Okay.
um, but my day-to-day life, I work full time. I have three children. They're in public school, ages 9.5, 11, and 17, and a husband, as I mentioned, two
Yeah.
dogs. Just busy day to day, working family like so many of us. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Um, I didn't know that Linton was out of the district now.
So
Yeah.
it's still like as of this moment when we speak, it is still represented by Senate District 16, but on the ballot, so when everyone gets their ballots in the next couple of weeks,
Yeah.
when we're voting this time around, the new districts will take effect for this next election cycle. So as of right now, there are still some areas that are Linton-esque, that are in the district. So basically, just for context,
Yeah.
the district boundaries to the south start basically along Sauvie Island is kind of the cutoff. So on Highway 30, Sauvie Island and north are part of Senate District 16 in the current redistricting.
Okay.
And so basically, if you were to drive from Sauvie Island all the way up Highway 30 until you get to Rainier, Clatskanie, and then into Clatsop County,
Okay.
um, so all of Clatsop County as well, all of Tillamook County, which is a bit of a change. Historically, the district line cut off in the middle of Tillamook County at the town of
Okay.
Tillamook.
Yeah.
Now it goes all the way south to Neskowin, so all of Clatsop County, all of Tillamook County, and then when you head back east through rural Washington County, so along Highway 6,
Mhm.
Banks, North Plains, that is all part of Senate District 16. And then when you get back to Cornelius Pass, and kind of the skyline area there, along Newberry Road for folks that are familiar with that area, and then back down to Sauvie Island. So it's essentially representing the whole northwest corner of the state.
Okay, and I have seen you. You have been all over this corner of the
Yeah.
northwest part of Oregon, and so great to follow you. Can you tell us a little bit, like from your understanding, you haven't started this job yet, but just from your understanding of what a state senator does,
Mhm.
what kind of decisions they make, how they're involved, in the political realm, and how we as citizens would engage, and as you being the representative and such.
Absolutely. So I know you had Anthony on who's running for House District. So for every House district, or sorry, for every Senate district, rather, there's two House districts within the Senate district. So there's 30 senators in the state of Oregon, 30 districts and 30 senators. And this Senate district includes House District 31, which represents Columbia County primarily, and that rural area of Washington and Multnomah County that I mentioned. And then
Okay.
House District 32 is the coastal side. The Senate
Okay.
district incorporates all of that area. Our senators work closely with our House of Representatives to formulate policy, and also with the Senate to help make budgetary decisions and financial allocations as to how the state spends the money that the state has to spend. And so the House and the state work together to create policy, and then the Senate approves the financial allocations, essentially holds the purse strings for the state, and works as the legislative body to make decisions about how the state formulates laws, enforces laws, and ultimately how we spend our money to uh, represent the people of this district.
Yeah, yeah. And how would like citizens engage with you about like their concerns or their thoughts? How does that work?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, so I think a lot of people in our community know our former Senator Betsy Johnson. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I hear from a lot of people, and I know myself, as having been represented by Senator Johnson for the entire time I've lived in this area,
Mhm.
um, that you know our we engage with our senators, with our legislators in general, by reaching out to them when we have problems, when we have concerns, when we have things that we feel like need to be addressed. And I think that a lot of folks know that Senator Johnson was quite good at having what we would call constituent services. So that means,
Yeah.
I have a concern, I call my senator, I share that concern, and then, ideally, um, that senator or their staff or whomever they put us in touch with responds. And that's really the way that's the way we are intended to engage with the people that we elect to represent us. I think that there's can certainly be it can be argued that some of our representatives are better than others at that part of the process.
Mhm.
That's not the only role that we have in engaging. I mean, certainly as constituents, there are other opportunities like testifying on behalf of legislation that's being proposed or against legislation that's being proposed. Sharing our concerns in on the record, essentially,
Yeah.
to let people know that we elect to represent us, how we feel about particular issues. Going to Salem to meet with our representatives and our senators, going to, Salem with other constituents to
Yeah.
really share those concerns. So um,
Okay.
I think I really encourage people to participate. I think a lot of times, we hear folks that share their concerns with their neighbors, that we talk about these things around, the kitchen table or wherever it may be.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes, I know that from running for office that I hear from people like, "Oh, it doesn't matter, none, nothing ever happens or no one's listening anyway." And I think that it's really important that folks know, like, actually we have these systems set up in place to not only allow, but to encourage participation. And
Yeah.
that is the benefit of living in a democracy. Like, not
Yes.
only do we get to vote, but
Mhm.
that we are actually encouraged to engage. And I think that I would love to see more people participating in that process.
Yeah.
Not just when they're angry, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
that's like the impetus is like, "Oh, I'm so frustrated," but also
Yeah.
just like when there's things that we're passionate about, things
Yeah.
that we are excited about, that we think are opportunities, that is really like, that's what our legislature is there for, that we elect people to represent us so that we can engage in that process, because not
Mhm.
everyone is going to be the person that feels like they want to run for office and be the person that's elected. But
Yeah.
you don't have to. You don't have to
Yeah.
be that
Yeah.
person. You can engage by reaching out, and whether it's email or phone call or showing up to those, to testify or any of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that insight. That you just schooled me. I love it. Oh, thank you. Why do you want to be a state senator?
Well, so I've been considering and slash preparing for running for office for the last 5 years or so. And I would say that the main reason that I kind of engaged in this process and started preparing is because my work as a nurse, I see so many things in our community that are just such challenges for the people that I work with.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, there's only so much I can do at the bedside, like, or, now I worked in the hospital for many years, and now, in people's homes, that there are challenges that people are facing, that there are obstacles that people are trying to navigate, that, I do my best, but that a lot of these are issues that are policy level
Yeah.
issues. There are things
Yeah.
that my hands are tied. I can only do so much. And I
Yeah.
feel like not only do I want to make an impact in those ways, but also I want to make sure that all of those voices of people in our communities that don't feel like they have their voices being heard, that don't feel like they're being represented, um, that that I can advocate on their behalf, in a position that gives, um, I mean, power isn't the right word. I'm not running because I'm seeking power. I'm running to be able to make a difference in a way that is greater than what I can do in my current role, or that is at least, adjunct to the role that I serve currently.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been preparing, knowing that at some point our current representatives would be, pursuing other opportunities or retiring, because that's just the natural state, that things change. Um and the opportunity presented itself now with Senator Johnson stepping away, to pursue, a run for governor. She's
Mhm.
not running for her current Senate seat again. And so this is just a time of natural change. And I felt like, if not now, when? So
Yeah.
now is the time.
Yeah. Great. Stepping in there. What qualifications do you feel that you possess to be a senator?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get that question a lot, especially knowing that our last senator was a force, and just has been in that role for a long time, was on a lot of very powerful committee roles, made a lot of, made a lot of contributions to the community. And so like there's definitely a lot of questions about like how are you going to fill those great big shoes? And the reality is like I know that neither myself nor anyone else is going to step right in where Senator Johnson left off. That's just an
Yeah.
unrealistic goal. And so that's not the goal I have.
He
Um,
started out, also, right? At
Exactly,
one
like,
point.
everyone starts, and so, we know that,
Yeah.
like, as a freshman
Mhm.
legislator, that you're gonna be looking at things in a different way, and stepping in a different position, really, so,
Yeah.
I'm not unrealistic about that. Um, that said, I mean, I think that what I really bring is a deep understanding of the issues that are impacting working families in our communities.
Yeah.
And I really think that having that understanding in many ways is more important than years of history as a politician. I'm
Yeah.
not a politician. I am a working class mom. I'm a nurse.
Mhm.
And like, I think that having that understanding is so important because ultimately, as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, I think the role of the people that we elect to represent us is that to represent us and
Yes.
bringing that understanding and that perspective of someone who not only understands something theoretically but like personally
Yeah.
and professionally and to be able to speak to those issues I think is so important.
Yeah.
um and so, that I think is what I bring is a lived experience, and a real deep connection to the community.
Mhm.
Um, and that is what I would intend to bring, to Salem.
Yeah. Wow, thank you. What would you say your top three, platforms are the things that really stick out to you where you see that kind of that need to be represented? What are those top three things?
Well, I'm guessing it would come as no surprise that as a nurse, healthcare is certainly an issue that I feel is a huge concern and a huge opportunity for us. That said, in my work, I really understand that healthcare is about more than just being able to have a nurse like me visit or to see a doctor. That the things that truly impact the health of our community is an umbrella of issues, an umbrella of things that impact people's daily lives.
Yeah,
And in order for our communities to really be healthy, in order for us to really create a system of healthcare that creates thriving communities, that we need to be also addressing housing,
yeah,
childcare and elder care, caregiving in general, education. Um, Food security, like, there are so many things that play into the health and well-being of our communities, so, I think healthcare is my top priority,
yeah,
um, but I think that there's, like, a level of issues that kind of fall into healthcare and that I think need to be our top concerns. I get asked a lot about public safety, and I think that that's also certainly part of creating healthy communities is making sure that we are also addressing um, safety in our communities. I also think that that is a natural part of that when we're seeing other basic human needs being met, that
yeah,
we also are simultaneously creating healthy and safe communities.
yeah,
That a lot of the issues that we're seeing right now are directly related to people's daily needs not being met,
yeah,
like with housing, for example.
yeah,
And so I think that for me, a lot of these issues are very interconnected. That it's really hard to separate them out. And I think that's historically what we have seen done is like putting issues into silos. Like we have a housing problem, we have a jobs problem, we have a public safety problem, we have you know, any number of things that we just talked about, and like
Yeah.
trying to create like solutions that are just like only focused on one issue at a
Yeah.
time. And I think that we need to be looking at these things like the puzzle pieces that they are, that they all fit together. And if you're missing one, then the puzzle can't be completed. That we need to be addressing them simultaneously and in the ways that they are connected to create the community that we want to live in.
For sure. For sure. I so appreciate you taking the time to meet with me and to share with our community about yourself and the role that you are looking to represent District 16 in. And so, thank you so much. And I'm going to be posting your website so people can follow you and see where you're at, where you're going, where they can meet up with you, and events that you might be having. And I just wish you good luck
Thank you.
and hope to talk to you again soon. Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time. And if anyone has questions for me, I'm very accessible and available and happy to have conversations with anyone.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Yeah.
Take
Thank
care.
you. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.